Now, Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Dr. Blade Nzimande says under Level 3, a maximum of 33% of students will be back and allowed on campus, with the final year students prioritized. Nzimande made the announcement during a media briefing on the further measures his department is taking in response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Under Level 3, which has not yet been announced, but when this level gets announced, we are going to allow a maximum of 33% of the student population to return to campuses, delivery sites and residences on condition that they can be safely accommodated and supported in line with the health and safety protocols as directed by the Department of Health and indeed our department as well, where appropriate. This will include the following cohorts or group of students who will form part of this 33%. It will be all groups that have already returned during Level 4, as I have outlined. But then also we will then prioritize students in the final year of their programs who are on a path to graduating if they finish their 2020 academic year completely. Also, amongst this group, the first 33% will be final year students who require access to laboratories, technical equipment, data, connectivity, and access to residence and private accommodation will also be allowed to return to be part of this first 33% at Level 3. Students in all years of study will also be allowed to return if they require clinical training in their programs, provided that the clinical training platforms have sufficient space and can accommodate them while adhering to the safety protocols, especially physical distance and maintenance of personal hygiene. The other group of students that we will allow under Level 3 to go back as part of this 33% will be postgraduate students who require laboratory equipment and other technical equipment to undertake their studies. In addition to the above, institutions may also consider selected return of other categories of students to residencies who may face extreme difficulties in their home learning environments, provided that the above categories are prioritized and all safety and logistical requirements are met.
Nzimande also announced free data allocations for all students currently receiving NSFAS funding.
On devices for NSFAS and Funza Lushaka University students, we acknowledge that the cost of connectivity remains a huge barrier for students who want to use the digital learning mode as part of our multimodal and remote learning. I want to thank the officials in my Department of Higher Education and Training, my colleagues and officials in the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, as well as the electronic network providers, including the mobile network operators, that have already zero-rated educational content sites of our public universities, TVET, community education and training colleges, including agricultural and nursing colleges. What does this mean? It means that access to websites from all of our institutions is essentially free. That is what zero rating means. That it's not, we are not going to use your data to be able to access these zero rated sites. You're not going to be charged.
For reaction on this, on the Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Blade Nzimande, we are joined via Skype, SASCO President Bamanye Matiwane. Bamanye, welcome to SABC News Channel. Let's start right there. Free data, that's what we've been calling for, in particular for our students. But do they have the necessary equipment to help them with that free data? Bamanye, can you hear me?
No, okay.
Yes, you can hear me. Bamanye, let me start again. I was saying the minister there at the top of before this interview, he was speaking about the free data that will be afforded to those students. And the question that we spoke to Matlago Kumane earlier, our reporter was out in Mpumalanga with some students saying, look, it's fine and fair speaking about free data, but we don't have laptops, we don't have facilities. What is that for? There are some nitty-gritty issues that they would have liked to hear from the minister during this briefing.
Okay, thank you. The reality of the matter is that students want to go back to their own respective residences only on the basis that they want to get connectivity, because back at home where they are staying, there is no connectivity. Number two, the government has been promising students that they are going to deliver laptops, they are going to deliver data. Till today, a few universities that have delivered laptops to students and data, and it's only those privileged universities, and it becomes a concern to us because this seeks to divide students as according to their class question, and therefore we're saying it can't be that the government is always going to divide students and keep on promising students. And when we are putting pressure to government and we are going to be called manga leaders, because no particular leader of the government must recklessly raise political questions on the benefit that they want to be popular and not deliver to students. They have promised students that they are going to deliver laptops and data. Therefore, they must continue with that. They must deliver laptops and deliver data. And also, there are those students who can't study at home. They must be brought back to their respective residences in phases, as we have agreed with the Department of Higher Education, that bring back students in phases, and also while you are bringing back students in phases, deliver what belongs to them, and also address some issues of exclusion that speaks unto the N+2 rule. We have agreed with the government that it needs much more engagements to make sure that there are no students who are excluded. There are students, all students must get their laptops, they must receive data, and so on and so forth. So we request that the government must not only promise students laptops and not deliver. And also we're saying, while you are opening residences, you must make sure that you fumigate those residences. You must make sure that you provide necessary equipment for testing kits and everything. You organize a quarantine zone for students. We continue with the academic plan.
Look, the minister did, in fairness, speak about the fact that students who find it difficult to be at home will be prioritized to get back at res, obviously. He did also mention maybe in a stern warning, as it were, to those students, a minister said, who failed once. Why should we let you fail for a second time and then still pay for your education? But as you're saying, that needs much more debate. What is your point of departure with regards to what his minister said today in his address?
Yeah, thank you. As a national leader that is leading all students in South Africa, we have a responsibility now to communicate with all SRC members, all organizational structures from province, regions, and to campus level, to make sure that the work that has been promised by government is implemented to all respective universities and TVET colleges. Because you'll remember when you have announced you then have a responsibility to practically deliver those promises. And therefore, our SRCs on campuses, they must make sure that they pressurize the counter-revolutionaries, vice chancellors, to make sure that they deliver. Because the reality of the matter is that NSFAS has paid some universities and colleges, but till today, students have not received their allowances. And then how do you announce that? Therefore, it calls for a very strong leadership to secure a future, to make sure that they go and engage universities into all respective campuses. Because as you have mentioning, to say, ministers said it clear that they are going to allow students who are getting difficulties to go back to residences, but it's a discretion of universities. Therefore, SRCs, organizational structures, they must make sure that they push and defend students.
Yeah, Minister did speak about the gradual return to the various campuses. Risk adjustment analysis and assessments have been done. Are you happy with some of the plans that have been put in place? We heard the health department, as it were, in this instance, speaking about they'll be having daily screening, technology for daily screening available. They're going to do that. They've got screening at all campuses, entry points. So it seems that they've got, they're trying to cross their T's and dot their I's. Are you happy with what they're proposing? And are you willing as SASCO to say, look, let's jump on board and see where we can pitch in and put the shoulder to the wheel, so to speak, because as you said, you're saying students want to return to campus and they want to study.
Thank you. No, it is part of our call to say, before you open residences, make sure that you prepare everything. Infrastructural development on ICT, laptops, data, you fumigate campuses, and make sure that you deliver what is according, so that when students arrive to campus, students can be guaranteed that they are in a safe zone. And we want to make it clear as a student leadership that we want to form part of those task team committees that are going to make sure that all these resources are delivered to students, because nothing that must happen without us.
As SASCO, just finally before we finish this interview, as SASCO, what is the mood, what is the feeling with regards to the students? Do they feel safe enough to return to universities? Do they feel safe enough to return to campus amidst, obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, because of conditions, students do doubt, but in large majority, they want to return back to their own respective residences, because they feel that it is where they can probably engage with their studies thoroughly. Because when you are at home studying, you are not comfortable, such that when you study, number one, you have a problem of laptop of connectivity. Number two, there are kids who are just crying around. Number three, your parents want you to do A, B, and C. Therefore, you can't focus, and the institutions are carrying on with the courses and studies. Therefore, some students are being compromised on this level. And till today, there are no policies that guarantees that if students are going to be affected by this online learning, these are provisions that we are going to do for them. The concessions, if ever you failed, how are we going to assist you? We need those suggestions from both the SRC and the university management.
SASCO President Bamanye Matiwane, thank you very much for speaking to us there.